Failure is a big thing. Well, you think it's big. You always look at it in a way that you're never going to get through it. You're never going to win. You always think you're going to fail. And today in this video, I'm going to show you how you can reframe your failure to start to win. That's what I want for you. So let's go. Hi, my name's Joe Noya and I'm here to inspire you every single day to learn lessons to help you live a better life. And today we're going to unlearn failure. Failure is ingrained into us from a very early age. We get born, we then go through a school system. If you're lucky enough to go to school, you go to a school system and you go through the system, right? So you always need to get things right. And you've been conditioned. You're afraid to fail. Your teachers will say, hey, you didn't get that wrong. You get the red pen. I know I got red pen. Loads of red pen over my English. Loads and loads and loads of it. You know, and it was very much like that. You've got to do it this way, conform to this sort of thing. If you don't conform, you fail. Now, I can get it in some context. In academic work, you need this type of feedback. But in the real life, when we're looking at real life in real things, when we're doing everyday things, when we strive for our dreams, this can really hold us back because we apply that academic type learning to life. And it's only one frame of reference. I know that's happened to me, that my confidence was very low at school. I didn't really engage with school. Although, you know, I played sports and things like that, I engaged with that because that was more my thing. But in terms of the academic work, I really couldn't see how that was going to fit into what I wanted to do, my life. You know, we're learning all this maths, why were you learning it? Yeah, I get the basic principle of it, but you know, in the whole light of it, what was the point of it? There's this thing about angles and learning from, you know, learning the sail of a boat. I didn't really get it. I understand now in terms of, you know, if you can apply that sort of learning in different ways. I get it. But really, when we looked at the way it was done, it was really just around, you know, you didn't get that right. Big X, red pen all over my work. And again, this is probably what's happened to you. You felt coming out of school, coming out of the system, you feel that, hey, I wasn't very good. I wasn't very good at school. Maybe you weren't very good at school, but it doesn't mean you can't unlearn failure. We can all unlearn it. And unlearning failure really means about trying things and recognising that we are going to fail at things. But let's look at the word failure. Why is it that we think it's so bad? We think it's so bad because we think we're not good enough. We haven't got it in us, we haven't got the skill, we haven't got the capability. But I'm going to tell you now, you have the capability. And if you don't pick up this lesson, you're going to stay stuck where you are for the rest of your life. And do you want that? No, you'll watch this video because you don't, right? You don't want that. So let's look at how we can reframe failure. So every time we learn different things. We learn how to do this. But when we go for a learning process, it doesn't happen. We don't do it. So when we walk, when children come out, we walk, don't we? We learn to walk. We look at, when we start to become conscious human beings, we look at other children, we see them walking, and we want to walk. Eventually we get through that walking phase, and if you go back to my other videos, I talked about that. And so when we try new things, when we try and do things like, living our dreams, for instance, we may have a big, bold dream. Now, I've talked about creating a vision of previously, so please go back and watch that one. But we're creating a big vision, we get scared of it because, all the previous conditioning, all the teachers in our lives, maybe our parenting, maybe our friends. Oh, you'll never do this, you'll never do that. Go get a safe job. Go get the safety. That's the thing that's been promoted. And in my world, I did go for safety. I was in a band, and we wanted to go around the world and tour. And really, when I think about that, I was told by my beautiful mother-in-law, she meant very, very well. But when I was in the band, this is the hopes and dreams. This is where our conditioning really comes in. She said to me, we were playing a band, we were doing live gigs, really loved it, enjoyed it. And then, turned around to me and said, you need to go and get yourself a proper job. What is a proper job? It's the traditional, right? Is you go to work, you get paid. But that was saying to me, in my subconscious, saying, you're never going to make it. It's not going to happen. And So what did I do? I went and got a proper job. Right? But had I not done this job, I would not be doing this now, right? Maybe I've been going around the world, who knows? I don't know. But I love paying that band. And the thing is, I don't want you to let go of your roots. I don't want you to regret. So I really sort of look at that moment. And in some ways I regret that. I regret that I didn't push it enough. I regret that I didn't go further enough with it. But do you know what I am pleased about? I'm pleased I'm here with you. And this is what I'm talking about failure. You know, these are sorts of stories that we take on from other people. The people that we surround ourselves with, we take on that failure and then we don't think we can achieve anything else. So I'm on a mission to prove otherwise. So with Inspiration Nation, you know, started off a couple of years ago. I mean, you've seen my coaching journey, 10 years. My first video was in 2011. You can go back and see it on this YouTube video. Go back to my very first video. You know, that's where this journey started. But it's been very up and down, right? Because I've been struggling with that whole thing of, hey, you're never going to make it. What's going to happen, right? But since I've really knuckled down and gone, reframed failing, gone, hey, this is all learning. What I'm doing here is learning. What you're doing now is learning. Is that we can make it happen. So we've got the podcast, we've got the videos. I've interviewed a load of people now. And so through those steps, it doesn't always work. I reach out to people, sometimes they don't agree, sometimes they do agree. And then they come on and we have a great time. And so this is what the learning is about. It's about trying new things. It's about not being afraid, because it's the way you frame failure. So let's look at something where we would maybe fail at. Okay? Perhaps you are going to post a video or write a blog, but you're scared of doing it. What's the worst that can happen? That's a really good question. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is no one's ever going to read it, no one's ever going to watch it. But the fact is, you put it out there. And it never may blow up, right? But you keep trying, you keep persisting. And every time you try, it's not going to work, but you go, hey, just look at it as a learning frame. It's something that you're getting better at. It's impossible for you to say that the first time you do something, you're going to be amazing at it. It's just not realistic. You're going to have to practice. You're going to have to put the effort in. You're going to have to put routines in. So for me, I have to get up early. So I'm recording this video. I've got up before everybody else. Everybody else is not up yet, and I can record this video, but I have to make time for it. I have to practice. So every day on Instagram, every day on Twitter, every day on TikTok, all the other social platforms, YouTube, I'm always putting out content. And so you've got to practice the craft. I want to get to you that coaching is so important. And for me, coaching's really helped me reframe failure, and I want it to work for you. And what this means is that when we feel stuck, we need to sort of reach out and go, okay, so what is the best thing for me in this instance? I failed. What does that mean? So failure means learning. You're just learning. You're just beginning. Whatever you're doing, you're just starting. You're just starting out. You're going to try lots of different things. And it's okay to change to different things. So if you failed at something else, you just look at it and go, I'm going to try something else, I'm going to do something else, but never ever lose hope. Always ask yourself the question, how can I learn from this setback? How can I learn from this failure? And then it's unlearning that. It's unlearning that, hey, it's not the end of the world. There's always another opportunity. It's just another opportunity to have another go at it. And problems, we look at them as really big things, but problems are a learning curve. So problems, when we have problems, we failed at something, it's another problem because we haven't solved it yet. We may have failed at it, right? So problems are designed for us to learn. We've all got our own definitive problem for our specific life. And if we can solve those problems, if we can dive into those problems and really just have a go, and if we fail, it's okay. So just look at failure as learning. It's okay to fail. What's not okay is not to go and have another go at it. Try a different angle, try a different opportunity to try and solve it. So for me, another thing that helps me or helped me when I've drawn and doing these videos is that I play computer games. And I really played them when I was younger. So I'd play a computer game, it'd be really difficult, right? I'd be playing it away, or playing it, and I tell you, it would be really frustrating. I couldn't get past it, it would not work. And then, I'd just have to turn the computer off and start again. So what I would do is literally, I've done it before, I go to bed on that problem and I think, how do I solve it? And then I go to sleep, and then the next day I wake up and then I go again, try, didn't work. I go to bed, I go to sleep. Sometimes just before I go to sleep, I solve the problem. And that's what failure brings you. Failure brings you the opportunity to persist, to continue to solve them. So some of the world's biggest problems have been solved by people who are willing to persist, are willing to accept failure as part of the learning process. So one thing I want to ask yourself is this. Ask yourself, is failure something that is going to stop me? You need to answer that. You need to look in the mirror. You need to say, no, failure's not going to stop me. If you don't say that, if you don't say to yourself that you are not going to persist, you're never going to get to the dream life that you want. And failure is one of the biggest hurdles you're going to overcome, because within failure there is fear. There is fear of judgment. There is, these types of behaviours that you pull away from, you run away from it. But what we have to do is to lean into it. You have to lean into your fear of failure to start to win. And this is what's starting to happen for me with these videos, with the podcast. We've now got a ton of downloads on the podcast because we persisted, because we continued, because we are getting rid of our excuses. And I'd love you to go and check it out. The link is in the description below. Because when we do these things, when we persist through, when we make sure it happens, and we record podcasts every week, we record a pod, we don't know what it's going to be like. Sometimes they take off, sometimes they don't. But that's the key. It's never going to take off straight away. Your dreams aren't going to happen overnight. There's usually a long list of phases before you get to that bit. If you think of an iceberg, think of the iceberg on top of the iceberg, that's the success. Then underneath is all the failure, all the hardship, and all those types of things. So for me, if you've gone back to episode 1 of the podcast or go back through my videos, you'll know that I suffered with depression, and it was a really difficult time, and that was a big failure for me. But I always in the back of my mind knew that I wanted to get better, I wanted to persist. And now look at me, I'm here in front of you delivering a video which I never thought was possible. And that's because I've unlearned failure. I'm unlearning failure. And that's what I want for you, because failure is just a normal part of the process. And it's okay. And people don't reach out, people don't research it because they're afraid of failure. So I want you to think of something else. I want you to turn your disadvantage into an advantage. So whatever it is you think you've got in the way. So for me, my depression could have been a disadvantage, but actually now it's an advantage, because I can draw on that as my inspiration to get through, to be better, right? So I've got through that challenge, and I'm now turning that disadvantage into an advantage. So whatever you've got, it's talking about reframing that. So whatever disadvantage you have, whether you haven't got any money or anything like that, use it as an advantage. You haven't got any money. So what is the opportunity in that? The opportunity is to start to grow, is to start to, hey, how can I start to make money? How can I be better? How can I improve my skills? So it's all the way you look at it. So you turn your disadvantage into an advantage by looking and asking yourself a powerful question. Bearing in mind what I'm going through at the moment, how can I make this work for me? How can I make myself better than I was yesterday? And what you're going to find if you do this daily, if you need to rewatch the video, come and rewatch the video. If you do this daily, then you're going to get better. And if every day you persist, and every day you're consistent in going back, solving the problem, attacking the problem, and reframing your attitude around failure, you will start to unlearn those behaviours that are holding you back. You'll be pushing through against people's opinions. You'll be pushing against the fear. You won't be listening to people that aren't supporting you. You're going to reframe your whole life. You're going to surround yourself with people who are going to support you, and they're going to help you unlearn. And together, what you're going to do is create an inspirational life that you're going to start living the life that you're meant to live, instead of living a life of fear and failure and just living the same old life day in, day out. That's not what you want. So unlearn failure. Make sure that you practice and persist every single day. If you do that, you're going to win. So let's finish off with 3 questions. So number 1, what's the biggest failure in your life? Write it down, write it out in detail. What is the biggest failure? Even pause the video if you need to. So what's the biggest failure in your life? Number 2, looking at that failure, how can you reframe that failure for you to work for you? So what can you do? What can you learn from that failure? How can you reframe that failure? Say, how can I now start to solve this? How can I now start to be better considering what's gone on? And number 3, I want you to write out a plan of how you're going to do each day. And I want you to put a date on it. I want you to put a date of when you're going to persist on solving that failure, solving that problem every single day. And I will put a date. It may be today, it may be tomorrow, but put a date and write it down and start. And then what I want you to do is come back to this video, leave a comment below as how you got on. And I want you to hashtag InspirationNation or hashtag IN, and I will reply to you. So I hope this has helped. I hope you enjoyed that video. I'd love it if you check this video out over here. I'm sure you really love it. And also, I'd love if you subscribed, and that means a lot to me. It's Inspiration Nation, and I'll catch you guys later.